Our next question is on prevailing wage, which state law requires for publicly funded projects in excess of $25,000. This is another issue that is reputed to stifle economic development in Pennsylvania by adding additional costs to projects, costs that often cause those projects not to be undertaken. Do you support a change in the current law regarding prevailing wage, and what, to you, would be an effective prevailing wage? What would an effective prevailing wage law look like? This time we start with John McGinnis.
Well, it wouldn't look like anything. We in a free society believe that the market best determines wages. A willing buyer and a willing seller. And in the case of labor, it's the worker who is selling their labor. It's the construction person or the school district that is the buyer in this case. What is wrong with going with a market system where willing buyer and willing seller make the decision? Where does government get the idea that they know best? And as a matter of fact, for public projects, you're adding 20% to the cost of every public project. So whether you're a school district or trying to build a highway, you're soaking the taxpayers for an extra 20%. What does that do for an economy? Again, in a free society, we believe that people should be properly compensated. But an artificial construct of government called prevailing wage, which isn't prevailing at all. The market wage is what should rule, and that's because the market wage is set by free people engaged in commerce.
Richard?
Yes, I do believe that the $25,000 limit should be raised. More fundamentally, I believe that anytime government sets a fixed dollar amount, whether it's for a tax or a fee or a ceiling like that, no matter what it is, as soon as you have a fixed dollar amount and it's set at a fixed dollar, that is broken. Because we need to, obviously inflation comes around and we need to inflation adjust all particular types of values. So I think that a reasonable change that should be made to the prevailing wage law is that that $25,000 should start to become inflated each year. I do not support changing it right now to something like $180,000. There's some talk about doing that. I think that we should just take the $25,000 where it is now, multiply it by whatever inflation is over the next year. That's what it's going to be next year, and then so on and so forth after that. And that way it won't be, to where in 10 years from now, just to, I don't know, replace a toilet or something like that would cause it to be prevailing wage, because that gets into some ridiculousness. But prevailing wage fundamentally is also about guaranteeing the quality of work in public construction. This doesn't apply in private construction, by the way. So most construction actually doesn't use this. This is really for public construction or construction that uses public funds. And it is a great way to guarantee the quality of the work, because as my opponent talks about, that when you start having the market force dictate what the labor rate is going to be, that means that you're also going to be toying with the labor rate and making cuts every time you can with the labor rate, which means when the public is going to build a building, I think the public deserves a quality building that's going to last a very long time. If you take a school, for instance, if we build a new school, we want that school to be around not just for 10 or 20 years. We want that school to be around for 50 or 100 years. It should be there for a very long time, which means that we need quality construction to build that. Or the same thing with a library or with a road. We need quality construction. The best way to guarantee that is to make sure that those who are bidding and those who are building this do not play lowball bid with the actual labor, that they don't put their worst people building something just because their worst people are going to be the cheapest people. We want the most experienced people building public buildings so that the public gets the very best building that we can get, the best quality. Now, of course, we don't want to drive the cost up too much, which is why we actually set a prevailing wage rate, so it can't be higher or lower than that amount. And that prevailing wage rate is based on the market. It's based on the state market. And so that's a great idea. Okay, that's better. All right. So that ensures that less qualified workers don't take over these particular public buildings. There are several examples of this actually happening. There was a private school built locally in the 1960s using non-prevailing wages and low bid workers. As a result, that school was not built very well. It started to fall down after just 20 years. Today, actually today it doesn't even exist anymore. It was torn down after 30 years. That's not something we want to do. And there's even another example of a private school that was again built using low wage bids, It's still a building that exists, and the same thing. They had lots of problems. We
We'll
need
have
to avoid
rebuttal
that.
time.
Is Joe
John?
Biden on the stage? I'm just wondering. If you think mandates and guaranteed payments to suppliers is going to assure quality, you're operating in some delusional universe. The only way you can get quality is if buyers can competitively choose from selected suppliers. So the idea that the government mandating a wage and guaranteeing a payment is going to bring quality is just a crazy economic nonsense. You know, we have here in Pennsylvania, we're spending $61,000 per highway mile. That's the 7th highest road spending in the country. How can a legislature look taxpayers in the eye and demand that they pay more at the pump each month to fix failing bridges? State government hands out billions of dollars in subsidies for sports stadiums, and we're redirecting our limited funds available for needed infrastructure to pay off for, let's be blunt here, union special interest.
Thank you. Richard?
Yes, I'll be short this time. Sorry about that. When some company actually bids on a job, and they have jobs that are prevailing wage and jobs that are not prevailing wage, they have a whole slew of employees that they can send out to those jobs. They have their new employees that are not as well qualified. They have their very experienced employees which are qualified. Obviously, the more experienced workers earn more money. So when we talk about that it does improve quality, it does, because that construction company is going to send their best quality employees out to the prevailing wage job. They're going to send their cheapest employees, the newest employees, out to the non-prevailing low bid job.